you have any questions, kindly put them on the chat box and I shall take them on if we have time. If there's anything else you'll require, I mean, please put it on the chat and we'll be more than happy to address your queries. So good evening, everyone. Welcome, Dinesh. It's a pleasure having you with us in only our third session of AMTOI Dialogues. As such, you don't need to be introduced to our industry, but protocol demands that I do. You have an illustrious career spanning 4 decades in the liner shipping industry and in various other activities such as stevedoring, project cargo transportation, port and container management. And you have made the transition from a profession, started your career as a professional, went on to business, turned to professionalism again, and then again came back to ownership. And now you are also, from your setting, I can make out a very good farmer as well. So it's been a long journey for you, and you have started your career as in a big shipping organization, then moved on to owning your own company. Later on, you worked in various capacities for the Maersk Group. In addition, you were a trustee of the Mumbai Port Trust, Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, president of Mansa, president of EU, president of the IBL-CCI, where I was fortunate enough to work under you and learn a lot of things and work closely with you at that. And you were also on the subcommittee of the Shipping of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry. You also owned multiple companies during your tenure. You were instrumental in setting up a CFS in Mumbai, one of the first container freight stations in Mumbai, spread over 56,000 square meters. You set up a joint venture between Maersk and Concor for the Dadri project, which was also one of the first between a private and a public sector. And you were involved in the JNPT third terminal contract right from the time of bidding. Today, you are on the board of directors of Raymond's, PD Multimode and Gatti Limited as well. That is on the professional front, but you're also an avid golfer and a very good one, I'm told that. We know your love for vintage cars. I've personally driven with you all over the country. And you also are an avid horticulturalist and farmer, and I can see the lovely setting in your background as well. So welcome, Dinesh. This was just a brief introduction for everyone. In addition, you're married and happily married to Padma, who has been your main strength and blessed with 2 lovely daughters. So we welcome all of them to this webinar. I think they are all there. I would like to start, Dinesh, by saying that your career began with as I said, you've gone through various rounds from being a professional to an employer and back and forth. Just in a nutshell, how have you been able to change your mindset repeatedly from an employer to an employee and vice versa? Just quickly, it's such an important transition phase and it's such an important different roles. So please shed some light on that.
Thank you very much to have invited me. I feel honored and privileged to be invited by AMTOI. I'd like to thank the president and the committee members to have given me this opportunity. Most of them are known to me for years, and I'll certainly reply to what you have asked. But let me start from the beginning, because that will make you and others understand my thinking patterns. So here I was in 1974, came to Bombay to take up a job with a company called McKinnon McKenzie. And I was appointed as a covenanted assistant. Before I knew, I was asked to move into a company flat, which used to be called a chamari, which was a 3-bedroom apartment where 2 English equivalent colleagues were there. So from there, I started my career. Initial part of it, I was moved from department to department, which is from technical services department to ship owning, ship management, crewing, agencies, and so on. McKinnon's was a great company, a British company, and the positions we were taken for was that you had to perform. You were given enough staff and people, and I took it a bit seriously. So I started to, the sooner I started to learn, I spent a lot of time because I knew nothing about shipping. To you should know, I came from the north, having never seen a ship. So with that background, I had no choice but to learn, and I continued to spend time in understanding, learning the business, and so on. Very quickly, I don't even realize how fast time has flown. I joined in 74, and sometime in 75 or 76, I was asked to handle a ship which was Queen Elizabeth. And I was the anchor man for the company to handle it. And I was quite taken, it was a great honor. And I worked very hard to make sure everything works perfectly. And few of innovations I brought in at that time as well, that I flew the custom officers before the ship comes here to clear all the passengers. And as soon as the ship docked, they could fly out to Agra and come back and join the ship in 48 hours. So those kind of series of things have happened with me. Of course, appreciations kept coming. And then sometime later in that part of the year, 76, my bosses chose me to fly as an owner's rep on a reefer ship. So I would load the ship in India and travel all the way to Middle East, wherever the ship was going. And I would go and meet the consignee and make sure my ships are immediately cargo is taken, because they had to take a direct delivery from the ship. I would do that. And I was flying in and out for a couple of months till they decided to put up a company in Dubai. And again, I was the chosen one to be put there. So we had by then bought a ship called Bakat, which was a lash operation. So we would go and discharge, the ship would discharge the barges there because of congestion in Dubai. And we would, by the time ship comes back, we would have to empty it and load the. And there also I worked extremely hard. I worked with the labor. I remember all the Pakistani labor, and Eid time, I would say, no, guys, keep working the whole night and I'll get you the food when the Rosa has to open. And I would do that. And they really enjoyed it. So suddenly, and then,
But
um,
that was your journey as a professional. But then you started your own. So
yeah,
how did you,
well, let me just go through a little bit of this. And then very quickly in 83, the McKinnon's was not doing well. And that time I was approached by somebody to move into another company. And there again, I started to do things which were not normal. I did certain things like heavy lifts in transportation and project transportation, which was never done so professionally in India, which gave me another lead into becoming a professional and talk about it in government circuits and present papers and so on. So from there, I I did a lot of such things. They're a subject by itself to talk about it. In in this process of getting business for my company, which I did always, I came across two companies who wanted to appoint us as agent. One was CMB, one was another company, and I chose CMB. And CMB had made it very clear that Dinesh Lal, we would like to appoint you as, if you want if you want to be with the present company, you be with them, or you come to Shaw Wallace and run the business for us. And I said, no, I don't want to change my owner. I will continue with my company. And they gave us the agency. And that's where I started to get involved with CMB. And I think you know the journey, that how I started with JNPT, knowing very well there was hardly any cargo, but then I developed ICD, Concor, JNPT, and At some stage by 92, there was a conflict of interest between the present owners and CMB. And CMB reminded me that they had given me the agency and they would like to move out and I have to run it. And also they said, we would like you as a partner in our company and not an employee so that I don't move out or leave the job. So I was offered stakes in the company. And then I started the journey as a as an entrepreneur. And you know about what successes we brought, but just to highlight one or two, we had a market share of not even 0.01% because they were never a mainline player into Europe. And I built it up to 12, 13% of India trade. And then we started a weekly service into East Africa, and we were 25% of market share. So with that development, and I remember in 98, one day there was a board meeting and I said, I like half an hour uninterrupted to make a presentation. And when I showed them their return on capital was 11,000%, what they invested, they were quite shocked.
Oh, that's something.
And they couldn't believe it is possible to do things. In that process, I continued to expand into various other business ventures, which was port, port and terminal management, where I was a shareholder. I started a ship management company. I started a trucking company. I started a container repair company. I started a logistic company. I went into yard management for them. You may know all these
Yes.
companies, EOTS, AMI, Tecto or Exmar, Octopus Shipping, ERS. And I also went into a joint venture with Barwell. So whilst I'm managing all this, I was doing this. So if you look at it in that sphere, I went into various businesses. And whilst I was an employee, I realized that I need to move into the circuit.
Entrepreneur. Yeah.
No, not entrepreneur. So I started to get involved with the chamber. I was on the dock labor board, which the merger took place. I'm a signatory to it. Then I got invited to be a trustee. And for both ports, concurrently, I've served 14 years as a trustee, then Mansa presidentship and, EU and other things. So I kept doing, it was always that I worked very hard. I enjoyed doing everything. I was innovating. If I just give you an example, when I was not even 30 or 31, you all know that the cargo is cleared from Bombay port by either a truck or by railways. And we imported an aircraft, a helicopter from Xerxes. And those owners said, we like to assemble in the docks. And I
No.
went to the docks and talked to them. I said, you've never seen something like this. He said, we've never seen a cargo flying out of Bombay port. I said, let's make a history. And I did that. And we flew that with the, gate in charge was standing there to issue that it has gone out. And that was things. So I've done so many innovative things. If I start to talk about it, you'll be surprised. But just to give you, when I did a heavy lift, nobody in India had done it. So I hired foreign drivers and brought them to India to do it. And when they were traveling into the, remote area, no villages, nothing, they had to park outside cities and so on. I would carry steaks for them from Centaur Hotel and travel to the nearest airport, drive 50, 60 kilometers, then get it barbecued and serve them. So they were always doing it. So that's the kind of way I
That's been done
did
even
things.
today.
So this is how I came to become an entrepreneur. And then from then the company decided to sell its equity world over. And that's how Musk came into the picture.
There, I just
Uh,
want to interrupt you.
yes, please.
Yeah. Here, I wanted to ask you that I know when Saf Marine was taken over by Maersk, and as I mentioned, and I'm being very blunt about it, people were writing your professional obituary. They were saying now he's out. It happens. We have seen so many liner agents in our industry who get taken over and then the company ceases to exist. I mean, we don't need to name names. So that we all felt at that same time, I mean, that we were wondering what would happen. And everyone was talking about it. I remember that this is the end for Dinesh Lal as a businessman or in the shipping industry. He has made his money. That's good. But the story turned completely on its feet, upside down. You were appointed as MD of Maersk, which was also a first, and you went on and had a very long relation with them, and a very good one at that. So how did that happen? How did that come about? How did you manage it? Because for them to repose a faith in a local person is something very commendable.
Very good question. Very easy to answer because my professional obituary was written many a times over, including my father and my father-in-law said when I left McKinnon McKenzie and joined an Indian company, they said, this guy is mad. From a British company is leaving and joining another company, his future is all over, and so on. Little did they realize that I am a long-term thinker. I plan things way ahead of time and look 20 years and 30 years ahead of time, which is something which I have always done. So when it came to the CMB and Maersk, or Safmarine and Maersk, many of you would not realize that I was very keen to sell my shares and get out of the company because it's the kind of money I would get. And they were not buying my shares, Xerxes. Oh. And finally, they agreed to buy my shares. So I had a meeting in Singapore with the CEO of the group called Harvard Boyd. And over a glass of wine and many glasses of wine, he asked me one question. Dinesh, with this kind of money, if you get, why would you come back to work? And we need you and we don't want you to leave. I said, look, Howard, this is how little you know about me. I don't work for money. I am a professional. I love to work and I want to make good companies. Yes, I will be back to work. Whether I own or don't own, I'll do the job as I have done always. And they made me agree that I will not leave them for 3 years, and also said that should you take another job, you will give Maersk a group a first right of refusal. I said, I don't have a problem. I'm not going anywhere. And then I joined Safmarine as MD. And Maersk clearly said, Mr. Lal, stop spending time on Safmarine. We want you to spend time with Maersk. I was appointed as a director on the board, which was the first Indian employee director on Maersk India board. And then since then, I never looked back. I did a lot of projects and a lot of things for them. So I leave you the questions.
So Dinesh, I have to ask you first one question. Which wine were you all drinking at that time?
I don't remember the wine, but it was Four Seasons Hotel in Singapore.
Yeah, okay. So because that will definitely help us in our future business dealings as well. So Dinesh, now as a businessman, you have been very successful. You have done so many things. Then you were also instrumental. As we know, there is one marquee company we have in our industry, which is now nearly on its way to become a $2 billion company, which is All Cargo under the chairmanship of Mr. Shashi Kiran Shetty, who was a personal friend of yours. You have been close friends with him. You have worked together. You were also instrumental in seeing partly you are on the board of directors. You are also partly responsible to where it is at today. How was your journey been in creating India's first true multinational?
That is very nicely put, but Shashi is a friend of mine and has always been a good friend of mine. What have I contributed is nothing other than our friendship. He would come to me, talk to me, I'll give him my advice, and whatever, as a friend, I needed advice, he gave it to me, and I And yes, it happened that I knew AQ lines, or we knew AQ, and he started with them, and we were very happy to for that. And whatever Shashi has made, he has made because he is capable. It is nobody can make anybody else's career or future. Uh, yes, I must say, I mean, he gave me a lot of support. I gave him a lot of support, and that's it. So I don't think I would like to take any credit of that. Um, Even today, he bought over Gati. I was invited on board. He bought, I mean, then suddenly his Speedy came up in the picture. All cargo I used to attend, but it's more
A personal,
contributing
a
to each
personal
other's
friendship
success.
and counsel and wise counsel, I guess. Personal,
Well,
yeah.
I think that may be the case.
And so that's all in the shipping industry. But how about you've also joined? I know that Gautam Singhania is a good friend of yours. You're also on the board of Raymond's, which is a completely different ball game. Um, I mean, how has that come about, and uh, what's been your journey like there?
Uh, Xerxes, I knew Gautam for many years. We never discussed business or anything. And one day, one of their presidents called me for a meeting for a cup of tea, and I went and met him. He was the chairman of JK Helen Curtis. And he says, "We would like you to come on board." And Mr. Singhania is very keen that you come on board of JK Helen Curtis. And I thought, I know nothing about the FMGC industry and all that, but it's okay. Let me see how do they run. I come from shipping, operation, and ports and stevedoring. So let's go there. So that's how I started. I joined their board, and it was not even 6, 8 months. Suddenly, Gautam used to attend the meeting, and he said, "Dinesh, I think you need to come to the main board." I said, "But why? Is there any reason?" He said, "No, no. I think you can contribute more there." And so I was brought into the main board of Raymond's, which it takes clearance from the government because they own aircrafts and other industries. So it took a couple of months, but I was on the main board, and I'm sitting on the board of Raymond's. And see, if you ask me, I never do anything
Hmm.
other than what is needed for the
Another
job.
15 minutes,
So,
10
George,
minutes.
George, you're mute yourself, please, George. Go ahead,
yeah,
Dinesh. Go ahead, please.
yeah. So,
Sorry.
for me, every work is to look at what is the job and what is the best way to handle it. And it's nothing to do with friendship or nothing to do with who has I'm dealing with. And that's how I approach the government, Maersk, and everybody. And I think you will know that Maersk. I was very proud to be invited by the CEO of the company, then Niels Anderson, to give me a farewell in Copenhagen, which I believe was never done. So I didn't know. I mean, I just went there, and it was a great honor. Again, they did a farewell in India as well, and I'd helped their accounts, or not accounts, their legal team in certain matters, and they held another private farewell for me. So a company like this, and I must be valued by them, because in 2010 officially I had retired, and finally, when I literally shook hands, was 2014 part of it, and 15 was still, because they still wanted me to carry on a board of one company, which was very delicate for them, with the government, where we were 50-50 partners. So I was managing the stakeholders relationship as well with them. So, and I, even today, I mean, even coming out, AMI is one of the biggest customer for Safmarine, and in this region, not only in India. And together with Maersk and Safmarine, AMI has become one of the top customers for them. They themselves confirmed that this morning. So
Good.
that's how it is.
So before we go on to AMI, which will be the last question on the professional front for Raymond's. I just wanted to ask you that, are you allowed to wear other suits now? Gautam allows you, or you only wear Raymond suits now?
Well, that is a very good thing because I have a favorite brand which I'm not going to talk about, but that would custom make my suits, and they are very very known. So he knows it, and he is not,
He
and
accepts.
he made sure that they took me, they tried me, they given me so many clothes that I had to finally start buying raiment, and I said I'll pay for it because I must have got so many clothes made for me, only just that Mr. Lal must wear
Good. Good.
Raymonds.
Very smartly turned out. So my last question on the professional front is coming to AMI, since you brought it up. AMI was a partnership between several partners. You were one of them, and there were two or three others, if I recall correctly. And a few years back, we know that there was it is a fairly large company, and there was a split, territorial split, if you want to say it that way. How did that? How did you manage to retain the brand name and still maintain your market share and hold in India as where it is today, which is quite one of the top operators to the African continent?
Honestly, my wife, Padma, who's the managing director and shareholder of the company, I did not hold a single share of the company. And I had, you must know the background. In 1995, I set up the company with CMB because AMI was a subsidiary of CMB Group in India, and that was the parent company and no other company. So AMI India was the parent company. We set up the company in Dubai, and we employed the people, and then we I bought. I mean, we worked out a deal and bought the company, and it's right in India, Pakistan, and Middle East of the company, and I then gave the partnership to these gentlemen. Or together we bought it. Let's put it like this. But AMI India was the thing, and when we, so it was left to them because I was too busy, my career, and I was doing very well, at least I thought. And I never had the time to do it till I was asked by my wife and the managing director that she needed my help. And I continued to tell Maersk, which they were all aware of all my other businesses, uh, including my being on the board of KBC Bank and all that. So they couldn't accept it, but slowly, gradually over the years, they said, okay, we can understand your pressure, but that's it. So I finally came to AMI. Then I went around Africa, went through everything. I realized that this is not the way I would like the business to be run. And then we parted company. I took over the India part of the business and left them the other part. And now AMI Global in India is continuing. They had to sell they sold their equity to Siva. So AMI will cease to exist there to the best of my knowledge. And that's it. I mean, we're still friends, but nothing to do with, because I think they didn't realize that India was the originator of cargo and business. And we need to do, and probably they forgot about it because of them managing such a big business. And I continue to focus on the uh, business strategies here. Grew this business in the last 4 5 years. We've grown year on year 20%.
That's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Good.
and both in revenue and in volumes.
So sometimes divorce helps, you're saying.
Sorry.
Sometimes divorce helps. No, so coming back to your okay, so that's as far as your professional career is concerned. So behind every successful man, there is a woman. Here, in your case, you're blessed with three. Your lovely wife Padma, who has been a source of immense strength for you, and your daughters Shifali and Shibani, who have carved their own niches. So, who is the real managing director of the Lal household, and who is the real boss, and who calls the shots there?
Um, very, very, it's getting into a very personal question, but it's very interesting to give you the answer. You know, Padma and I have known each other for 5 years before my marriage, so it's almost 45 years. Padma and I were very good friends, and we continue to remain friends. The There are skills which I have and skills she has. She's very good at management of finance and other things, and I am very good at creating businesses and work. So we do not interfere with each other. She still remains the managing director of the company, and I officially report to her. And I have no hesitation because this company I had set up for her, and she will continue to be owner, and I will continue to work as a professional.
So you're retiring as an employee in effect.
Well, she's given me some shares, so whatever you like to call it, I'm happy whichever way.
Yeah, good. And your daughters have also carved out niches separate from the industry. Each one is successful in their own right. They are in, I think, finance and banking. One is a writer, professional writer. So, I mean, it's a very different, none of them followed in the family business or your profession.
I think Suresh Bhai answered that part of the question in one of your talks. I never trained my children or educated them to take into my footsteps. The idea was that they must grow and beat me at my in any field and business. But so for me, I wanted them to grow on their own. And the day they have grown better than me, more successful me, that will mean that I have done my job as a father and I've guided them and given the value system which I should, rather than bring it under my umbrella, because I don't believe that grass grows well under a banyan tree. So I've left them to go out and grow and make success out of their own life.
They've,
And that's it.
they've done a fine job. They've done, and the credit goes to both of you for doing so. Yeah.
Yes, it does. So
And coming to, so your other hobbies, Dinesh, before we close the session, is that you've in all this, you've been a very, very busy man in the last 45 years. But you still have time to be a very good golfer. I'm not going to ask your handicap in the public forum, but I know that you are a very good golfer. You also are an extremely avid vintage car collector. We both share that same passion. We both have taken some memorable drives, and hopefully we'll have a few more in store for us. And you also are a very good farmer. We get your we can see the lovely setting you are there at your farm, and we also get your annual supply of mangoes every year, which are organically grown. So how have you managed to do all this in this such a long journey and such a busy journey?
uh, I'll in sometime in 70 or early 80s, one day my wife said that you are so much into shipping that you don't even talk anything. You go to a party, you talk shipping, 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 and people are fed up of you. Why don't you develop some other hobbies which you have and do something with it? And then I was very fond of a lot of things, cars, antiques, and so on. So I in 80s, I already had a vintage car of a 1927 Fiat Tipo. And from then, the vintage cars have continued. I wouldn't say I'm a collector, but I love cars and I drive cars, whether it's fast cars like Porsche or Ferrari, or a vintage car or a Triumph 1929. So I've always enjoyed. And then golf also. My wife wanted to play, but I was playing badminton. I was very happy. And then she says she wouldn't go play alone, so I had to join, and that's how my golfing started. My problem is once I take something, I want to do, like in business, I like to do the best. I like to innovate, and I give my best on it, and I never compromise. So in golf, I would get up at 5 o'clock and go to the golf course and start hitting balls or go and play. And 8:30, I was back, changed and back to office by 9 o'clock. So
Wow.
for me, I would always take out time. A lot of people said, "How can you be a family man and with all this schedule?" Uh, I always remember that why do we all work? To look after our family. And in that, in our growth and in our success, if I leave the family behind, what have we really achieved? So once you get married, I mean, you've committed to your wife and your children, and that's a part of you. So I never consider that I'm working for my kids or my wife. I'm just enjoying life and is a part of and work. So I I enjoy my farm. My grandmother would talk about mango plantation, so I started mango plantation, and I tried to create one of the, I mean, grow good trees, and I enjoy it. And I'm glad you enjoy it.
Right.
That's it.
Yes, yes, I can see it. It's fantastic because it's an all-encompassing life. It's an enriching life, not only based on business, but on other aspects as well. You have truly lived your life, that means, and you're still living it.
Well, if I have to just conclude it and say between this journey of professional to owner, owner to professional, and then owner, I will tell you something which I have always believed. As a professional, I took ownership of the business and I ran the business as an owner. I never ever compromised. I never looked at what is in for me. It is what is in for the company and the owners of the shareholders of the company. And when I became an owner, I started to work as a professional and see that my company is fair to its employees, to the government, to the authorities, and I would grow this business professionally rather than looking how much money would I make. So with that kind of thinking, I brought in always good ethics into my own businesses, professionalism in the business, and I am not the boss. I may be the leader of the company, but I don't consider myself as a boss or an owner. And I want them to see me as a leader rather than as owners that people come and say good morning and sir. And all. I just want them to run this business successfully and be the best in their class.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Dinesh. It's been really an enriching 40 minutes for us. And we have tried to encapsulate your entire innings in just 40 minutes, which is definitely not doing justice. I'm sure we'll have many more such occasions. Thank you once again. If anyone has any questions, you can put it on the chat box or like you can unmute yourself and ask a quick question. Otherwise, I would request our president, Mr. Shantanu Bhatkamkar, to give the vote of thanks. Thanks once again, Dinesh. Stay safe and stay happy. Happy farming to you as well.
Well, I would like to firstly thank the president, the committee members again, and thank you for asking me. This is 40 minutes for 46 years. Is really putting it concise as I could. And I hope I have answered your question to your satisfaction and to your
Completely.
participants.
Completely. Thank you for sparing.
Just, I have a question to Dinesh. Can I
Yes,
go
go
ahead?
ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, Dinesh, how are you?
I knew you would ask a question. Where are you
Yeah,
in Hawaii? Are you in Hawaii or where are you right now?
exactly. I'm in my farmhouse, which is virtual, it doesn't cost money. Uh, Dinesh, I'm sure in career, we all have some low time. When you are low, you're surrounded by everything where nothing is going right, everything is tough. In that low moment, how have you handled those low things when they happen? Have you overcome? What was your status of mind? And how was your willpower? So I think that would be very interesting. you went through good journey. So I'm sure there was a moment where it was low.
Tushar, thank you. Firstly, it's always nice to see you and you asking questions, and you would always ask smart questions. Yes, in anybody's and everybody's life, you have ups and downs. In my case, every crisis I took as an opportunity. And in fact, at some stage, my company started to call me a crisis manager. And if you know the companies I worked and JM Bakshi, I mean, I was all over the world handling all kinds of crises, and that's it. So for me, any kind of crisis comes, yes, I'm down, I'm low, but I go back into thinking how best can I deal with this crisis. And I must say, I can handle crisis much better than I can handle normal course of business. So, I mean, if that is a quality, it is, I don't know. But yes, I take upon myself and I equip myself with knowledge, experience. I work on it and I don't give up. I never give up. I
Interesting.
hope I've answered you, Tushar.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, Tushar, and thanks, Dinesh. I think all the sports people say that what differentiates between the men and boys is when going is tough, the tough get going, and it is in crisis the best comes out. So I think we had a fine question from Tushar to sum up, and we can definitely see that you are a fighter and you are a visionary. Entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship also, which you said just now, like you treated the company as your own, are topics the entire committee is passionate about. And George Abreu, who is our immediate honorary secretary, is taking lead in these initiatives of AMTOI. I think the topic was well thought out, like it's professional to entrepreneur, it's not employed to businessman or something like that. So that brings out both the sides of Dinesh professionalism and his entrepreneurship without being a boss, as he very categorically said. And it was interesting to see how he developed models and how he built. I think this discussion has set a very high bar for the next dialogue guest. I can't call them as guests because they are very much our own people, and we must celebrate success of our own people, like we are passionate or we put others on high pedestal. We should respect our own people equally. I think Xerxes was a very accomplished entrepreneur himself, and he selected himself, we can say, like they say in cricket selection, because of his great sense of humor and his charms. AMTOI Dialogues is a series. It will be a regular feature, mostly a monthly feature, if not bi-monthly. When I say mostly monthly, if not monthly, it will be bi-monthly. And in this series, we will pitch to your interest so that we can have continued engagement and continued participation. We therefore look forward to have suggestions about topics and about the guests or speakers from you. And we will also be happy if you have suggestions about the format. Every successive series, we will deliver a dialogue which is more interesting and more useful. Dinesh, once again, thanks for your inspiring launch of this series of AMTOI. We couldn't have found a better person who is so very popular among the industry as a visionary, and you have seen two different worlds, which I would say very few people have experienced it. And we can see you have enjoyed your innings, and that's another thing for all of us to follow. So thanks, Dinesh, thanks, Xerxes, and above all, thanks all the participants. You will await the next announcement for next dialogue in the series from Xerxes, and in the meantime, we look forward to have suggestions and feedback from you. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you very
Namaskar.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dinesh. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Xerxes.
Thank you, Mr.
Bye.
President. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.